All right, I'm trying to wait to see if my final streaming platform, Twitter, is going to come on. Right? Is it coming? Okay, it says that it's streaming now. Isn't? But it's not. Huh. That's a little bit weird. Why does it say it's not streaming on Twitter? Is it streaming on Twitter? All right, well, we're gonna start anyways. What's going on, guys? Welcome on into another episode of Play by Play with JJ. Look, okay, so obviously we're going on for the Phillies game tonight. You know, we got the Miami Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies taking on each other, and we'll be live for that game. But I just wanted to come on here and I just wanted to make sure that I talked a little bit about the start of the season so far, because in all honesty, it's been very frustrating. It's been very annoying as a fan, just watching this team on a night in, night out basis where they're just not gelling together, right? You would think that because of spring training, like during spring training, you would be working on fundamentals and you would be working on things like base running and fielding and all that sort of stuff, even though that we knew that this team in some ways was handicapped defensively and that they would be providing a lot of power. But the offense has not been consistent. Okay. There hasn't been a starter this season that has gone at least 6 innings or so, which is a joke, which is absolutely unbelievable. And it just has not been pleasing to the eye. Okay. And it started off with the very first game. You're up 5-0 against the Texas Rangers. Okay. A team that has owned you for like 9 years. You haven't beaten them since 2015. That's 8 years. I can't do math today. But anyhow, the fact that you were up 5 runs against them and Aaron Nola comes in the fourth inning, he was cruising along throughout the first 3 innings, and then in that fourth inning, he starts to get a little bit shaky, and you leave him out there. And Robbie Grossman hits a game-tying 3-run home run, and the bullpen just can't do their job. There's a lot to say about that game because I think that game is actually pretty much summed up how the season has gone for the Phillies so far. And it hasn't been fun. This was a team last year where they started off they went on this really big run. It was an awesome run to watch, right? And and they literally just like got behind so many people. Alec Bohm played really well down the stretch. Okay, Reese Hoskins, even though he's not here, and I understand that the ACL injury is really bad, so, but he had a stretch. He was doing so well during a certain amount of time, and guys would just step up to the plate, and there would just be like this sort of theory or this mindset that we're not done, right? Don't count us out. And while yes, you did see that when they played against the Reds in Game 2 of that series when they were down 2-0, and then they came back and walked it off, it just hasn't been that type of consistent season as of yet. Now, I'm not hitting the panic button. I'm not hitting the panic button by any means, but I think that there's something to be said about just giving out your frustration because there have been so many things that we can talk about, and we'll dive into it of what has not been going well for this team so far this season. And let's talk about everything so far. So first, the managerial decision. See, I can't speak today. Rob Thomson hasn't been the best. Now, what I did find interesting is that today, because the starting lineup, you're starting 3 hitters over the last 2 games, well, 2.5 games, are 0 for their last 22. They're 0 for their last 22. Now, how you were able to take 2 out of 3 of those games while you should have also won all 3 of those games, that's impressive, but they're 0 for their last 22. So he makes a managerial decision today, which I kind of find a little bit coincidental. And he puts Bryson Stott, his hottest hitter, in the leadoff spot. So now you got Stott, Turner, and Schwarber as your 1, 2, and 3. I'm fine with trying that for now. Do I think it's a long-term decision that is going to, work out? I don't, but I'm okay. with trying it for now, right? And so I just feel like that when you talk about this team, that while yes, the top of the lineup has struggled, I just feel like that the manager, Rob Thomson, who was so good last season, and you could see that the team was rallying behind him as soon as he took over as the manager over Joe Girardi, right? There was something to be said about his message to the clubhouse. There was something to be said about the decisions that he was making, right, on the mound or in the lineup. He was always putting his footprints and his imprints on the game in so many ways. And this season, I've honestly felt like in a lot of ways that he has been asleep at the wheel when you talk about the bullpen decisions. Now, Sir Anthony Dominguez yesterday, I was fine with that decision. Okay, you got to go with him because he's one of your best pitchers. But now he laid an egg. At the same time, though, when you see that Zach Wheeler is getting into a little bit of trouble, why are you putting him back out there for another inning of work? He's causing traffic on the base pads, and it was clear as day in that second game of the season that there was a disaster waiting to happen as soon as everything just fell apart. So I just want to make clear that the manager just hasn't been making the best decisions himself. And yes, while both things can be true, the talent has not been executing like it should be. But that was my first thing that I wanted to talk about, the manager. I'm going to get to your thoughts in a second. Please be sure to comment down below on how you think that the season has gone for the Phillies so far and what has frustrated you, or what are some things that have actually been really good signs that you think that you need to talk about, that you feel very passionate about, because I want to get to those as well. I just want to start off with the negatives because that is what's been on my mind for a very long time. And I wanted to just come on here and just vent a little bit because I'm deep down, in some ways, I'm actually a little bit pissed off. I can't sugarcoat it. So, the next thing I want to get into, and I think that this is an obvious one, is the base running. Let's start off with yesterday because it's fresh in our minds. How on earth is Kyle Schwarber going home on that double by Nick Castellanos? How is he going home on that play? He got lucky that the ball ended up hitting him, and then it ricocheted off of his back. He was going to be out. And then right after he comes in to score, Castellanos is just like, maybe I should hit like this inside the park home run. And you knew that he was going to be out, and it wasn't even a close play at the plate. I can understand if Castellanos had a lot of speed, right? Or if he was in a better position, like in between the 90 feet away from home plate. But, like, come on, man. We got to make better decisions on the base pads. And Brandon Marsh, that leads me into him, okay? I was a big fan of his bounce back performance that he had in New York, okay? He said, my bad. I made a big air out in center field. I made another really bad base running mistake, and I got caught into a rundown. I costed my team. And he stepped up the next game, and he hit a big home run. But the thing is that you can say that all you want, but yesterday it happened again. And these are just simple fundamentals because those things, those issues on the base pads, they can come back to bite you. And they did. And I said it even during the cast yesterday, and I was really trying to obviously keep the fan in me, not let that get out or anything like that. But deep down, when I'm watching Kyle Schwarber round first base after a opposite field single that he hit into left field, I thought, man, for sure he's staying at first base. He cannot be extending that single into a double. And then he's like halfway in between, and I was just really trying to hold it together. And I think I did a good job at that because I never try to let the fan in me unless there's like a run that's being scored or anything like that. I don't like to let that sort of frustration, get into me while I'm casting a game, especially if it's going on and the action is just as clear as day, occurring at that time. But there's just something to be said about the base running and just the errors that they're making on the base pads. I don't know if it's a combination of the first base and the third base coaches and just miscommunication that's going on from that perspective, or if it's just the players, just thinking to themselves, okay, I am going to go, but I'm going to slow down a little bit. And I still think that I can make it into second base, or I still can make it into third base. Because if you're getting out on the base pads, that costs you runs. And with a team that is just so driven on scoring runs, those things, those little mistakes, they cannot happen. And unfortunately for yesterday's game, even though Sir Anthony Dominguez blew it in the ninth inning, one of the main reasons why you lost is because you could have put more runs on the board. And if you're having issues with the runners in scoring position and you're not scoring a lot of runs, you got to be smart. You really have to be smart. It's as clear as day. And I don't know how we're making those mistakes. I don't think anybody anticipated that. And the fact that it's just going on this early in the season and it's been going on for this long and it didn't even happen during spring training, I am not happy about that. So, do I think that they can clean it up? Sure. Absolutely. I certainly do. But there has to be some sort of decisions, because when you're making 4 base running mistakes yesterday and you get into like 3 rundowns, that's a recipe for disaster. And the good teams are going to find ways to take advantage of that, and they're going to beat you, and they're going to come out on top, and they're going to poke holes into that. And that's how you're going to lose games. That's a recipe for disaster. So I wanted to make my point about that as well. Okay, let's talk about the bullpen. Let's talk about how they've been doing so far, because it hasn't been consistent. I think that the first 2 games they were trying to get used to the pitch clock, and there was a little bit of like a mental sort of a breakdown. Pitchers were trying to wind up a little bit early. You could see that some miscommunication was there between JT and the pitchers, right? And so there were certain things that would kind of like cause them to feel more pressured and that sort of a thing. So I kind of gave them a little bit of a pass for that. But the fact that sometimes that you watch these guys that are out there, like Sir Anthony Dominguez last night, he had 1 out and nobody was on. And you give up a couple of walks. Again, I'm fine with Rob Thomson leaving him out there because he closed out games last season and he has to do better. He has to do better because he was put into those situations beforehand and he did a really good job. I'm just saying that you can't be letting these little mental mistakes impact you to this level. And that has to be cleaned up. And I'm surprised that the bullpen hasn't been as sharp as I thought it would be. Velotti's been really good. Okay, there's a positive. Jose Alvarado has been lights out, and he's like struck out the last 10 batters or 8 out of the last 10 batters that he's faced. That is incredible. But we need guys like Sir Anthony Dominguez. Craig Kimbrell's been doing okay. But we need these guys like Connor Brogdon and these why am I blanking out on his name? They just got him from Detroit. Why do I always blank out on his name? We need these guys to do really well. Okay, they came to the team because they thought that they were going to be in a winning culture and that things were going to be really good, but you got to execute. And there's a lot of time to still figure this out. I'm not saying that there's not, but every game counts. 2 years ago, the San Francisco Giants and the LA Dodgers were competing for that top spot in the NL West. It came down to like the last 2 games of the season. Every single win out of the 163 or 162, it matters. Even last year, the Braves and the Mets, they were competing against each other. Both teams had over 100 wins. And guess what? The Mets folded at the very end of the season. And all those wins that they could have had earlier, that they blew, they add up. So my point is that these mistakes need to be corrected because every game does count. And while, yes, there's a lot of time left during the season and we're only in April and it's only been 9 games or so, and you have 154 or 153 games left, you got to fix the problems. You just do. I think that I've vented a lot and have said things that I want to say, but I want to hear from you guys down below. And actually, before I do that, I want to bring up this question because we also know we can't deny this either that injuries have also impacted this team. Okay, they don't have Suarez. They're missing Derek Hall. He's going to be out for a couple of months because of the thumb injury, right? Bryce Harper's out. Reese Hoskins is out. What does Dave Dombrowski have to do in order to make this team better? Should he go get a first baseman? Does Alec Bohm need to? Is Alec Bohm going to be your everyday first baseman? Like, these are the types of questions that I ask about the organization, and I want to hear what your thoughts are about that as well. So let me know what your thoughts are down below. I'm actually going to get the chat overlay coming up right now, so I'll be able to display your comments because I think that it's important to kind of talk about these things. And again, I'm not panicking. I'm not like hitting the button where I'm just like, okay, this team is not even going to win the division. Like, there's no way that they're going to go back to the World Series because we just don't know that yet. But we can certainly be frustrated. We can certainly let out our anger on this team because they have given us garbage, flat out garbage, especially last night. 1 out, nobody on in the ninth inning, and Sir Anthony Dominguez blows it like that? Really? Come on, man. Rob Thomson, you got to be better. The starting pitching, you have to be better. Hitting. The first three hitters, man, over the last 2.5 games. How are you 0 for 22? That is your meat part of the lineup. I know that Kyle Schwarber, it takes him a little bit of time for him to get into his groove because we know that June is his month. But JT at the plate, come on, man. Trey Turner, I'm not going to criticize him because I think that he's been doing really well, except over the last 2 games. But come on, baby. We need the bat to continue the show. The errors in the outfield, they have to be better. I think that JT with the day off today is going to help him, but I need to see it. Now we're facing Sandy tonight, and we've done really well overall against Sandy Alcantara for some reason. I don't expect that they're going to score a lot of runs, but tonight we need to see fight. I want to see a willingness in this team. I want there to be a message in the clubhouse saying that, you know what, we played really bad yesterday. Let's respond with a different way today. That's the thing that I love about baseball is that you could have such a bad day the day before, and yet that can be erased with like a 9-run performance. But the point is that somebody has to step up now, and the leaders have to come. Bryson Stott and Alec Bohm are honestly the best hitters on the team past few games. They are. And that's why I'm okay with Bryson Stott batting leadoff today. I know that that's been like a very big discussion or a very big controversy. You know, some people don't believe that he should be batting leadoff. I'm fine with trying it. I just don't think that long term it's going to work. But while he has the hot bat, sure, your team is 3-6 to start off the season. And I'm happy that Rob Thomson recognizes that and he's rewarding Bryson Stott, you know, to bat leadoff because he's a player's coach. That's how he is. Players love him. And he has a very good feel for the game. He doesn't always go to the analytics. He goes by his gut. And I like that. I just don't think that he's done a very good job at that this season. And he's been asleep at the wheel, if you will. But I'm happy with the lineup change because that something has to change. 0 for 22 over the last 2.5 games. That is just a recipe for disaster. And that is not good from a team that ended up going to the World Series last year. So the other thing I wanted to also bring up really quickly too is I understand the fact that Aaron Nola hasn't been himself and Zach Wheeler hasn't been that dominant ace yet. Give them a little bit of time. Your team has to get you runs. And while the first game was very unacceptable, they did put up 7 runs in that game. In the clutch moments, okay, they didn't come through. This team, the way that their brand is, their identity relies on hitting. And if the hitters aren't hitting, you're not going to win a lot of games. Pitching will win you some games. I'm not saying that they're not. But 2 things can be true. Nola and Wheeler have to be better, but the offense and the base running for sure has to be a lot better. We knew that errors were going to be made over the last couple of years. We saw that with Brandon Marsh the other day. Okay, we've seen some careless mistakes like Nick Castellanos yesterday. I know that they didn't call it an error, but man, you got to get to the ball. That was not, I mean, it went to the warning track and it carried, but you got to recognize where it's going, and you just missed it. Got to be better in the outfield. But we knew that that was going to be a problem. We did not anticipate that base running was going to be an issue. We actually thought that base running was going to be one of their biggest strengths. And it hasn't. It has not. So, let me know what else you guys have to say down below. I'm just, I'm kind of like in the middle where, while yes, I'm not worried long term, I have this like sick feeling in my stomach as a fan that, you know, I can't deny it. Like, I'm watching yesterday's game, and I'm just like, how is Sir Anthony blowing this? He's leaving fastballs over the middle of the plate for guys to hit, and I was just like, damn. That doesn't make me happy. The plate discipline in the 9th inning, that didn't make me happy either. But again, that wasn't why you lost. You lost because of the errors on the base pads and because the bullpen just could not complete their end of the bargain. And Taijuan Walker hasn't been his best either. I expect better from Taijuan Walker. I remember he talked after the first game, man, and he said that, you know, I got to be better, and that wasn't my best performance, but that's 2 in a row. It's not the end of the world, but you got to be better. Accountability, I think, is the best word, and I know that it's overused and it's kind of cliche when it comes to team sports. But with this team, there has to be accountability. Should be a rule that Brandon Marsh cannot run any more than 2 bases. You know what's funny, though? Say what you want about Brandon Marsh. I do have to tell you, though, like when he did steal second base in that bottom of the 9th inning in game 2 of the Red Series, that was huge. He swiped it and he got it. And that helped the team win. So I'm trying to just like look at this from multiple angles, and I'm also really just trying not to allow myself to get so angry. I think that if this was going on during the middle of the season, I would still be frustrated, right? Like I would still not have a good feeling, but you're starting off the season and you're coming off of this incredible, magical run, and you did everything that you possibly could against the St. Louis Cardinals. That's where it really all started, to go on this great run and make it all the way to the World Series. I thought that I saw that in game 2. I thought that I kind of saw that magic in them again, but then I was thinking to myself, you know, there's going to be something in the back of my head. I said, something's going to happen on Sunday. And I wanted to ignore it, and I actually thought that when they were 2 outs away, like, what could possibly go wrong? And I was blindsided. So, again, I don't want this to be a negative sort of a thing. I understand that I wanted to get my frustration out, and there's a lot of things that we all should be frustrated about. If you're not frustrated about anything to this point, I think that there's something wrong with you. because with the garbage that they display out there some of the time, man, that has to be talked about. That can't just be ignored. At the same time, Alec Boehm has been swinging the bat really well. I've just been really tough on Alec Boehm because I know that he put on like 10 pounds of muscle during the offseason. And so many people in the media, right? Corey Seidman, I can name so many people that were in the media that were talking about the amount of muscle that he gained, right? Like during the offseason. The power has to be there. And while, yes, he hit a home run yesterday and he hit a home run in the first game, I just want to see it consistently. You literally had Rhys Hoskins, okay, say what you want about his defense. This was a guy that would actually carry the team at times last season. 30 home runs, that wins you a lot of games. When guys are hitting home runs, that's a recipe for success. That's how you win in this league. And Alec Boehm has a lot more eyes on him this season because now Rhys Hoskins is gone, and we don't know if he's even going to come back this season. And you need that sort of right-handed power. And while, yes, you're not going to necessarily just fill into his shoes and just hit 30 home runs, we need to see a step. And Derek Hall's out too. So more and more eyes are on you and on Nick Castellanos. That's how I feel. Schwarber has like 3 hits in the season, I'm pretty sure, to be honest. Yeah, and look, I'm not worried like long term about Kyle Schwarber. I think I just said it. I know that the power is going to come. But at the same time, I want to see the leadership come because I don't think I have seen a lot of that. One at bat after the other. That was the philosophy last season. We got to take one at bat at a time, one game at a time. And I just think that there's this different, sort of like walk on, if you will, this walk on feeling where, yeah, like it is what it is. Like there's more careless baseball. I know that people were upset about the NL Pennant rings being shown yesterday. I saw a lot of backlash about it on Twitter, and I said this. It has been a tradition to do that, and while the rings looked really nice, that needs to motivate them to go on this, or to do even better than last season. And if that's not going to motivate them, then don't do it. But if it will motivate them, by all means. I'm actually not going to lie. I'm actually a little bit more frustrated than when I was not even on here. I didn't think I was going to be mad, but the more I talk about it, I guess this is kind of like a therapy session for me, if you will. I'm actually a little bit more annoyed. I didn't realize it. You're kind of worried about Real Muto. It was a bad weekend for Turner. Schwarber has like 3 hits on the season. The one thing I'm going to leave you with is this. Matt Strom is on the mound tonight. We're back at Citizens Bank Park. Okay, Alec Boehm is batting 5th. I see the lineup right now. So it's Stott, Turner, Schwarber, Castellanos, Boehm, Marsh, Cave, Clemens, and Stubb. This team has a chance to shut me up tonight. Go back out there, score runs, put the team in a good position to win. Okay, don't like have the bullpen come in and do their job and just play on. That's the great thing about baseball. Prove me wrong. Give me the double bird, if you will, as I like to say. And just say F you, Jason. Because you know what? We are a very good team. And we can play at a very high competitive level. And we can do a lot better on the base pads. And do better job base running. Shut me up. That's what I love. That's what I love about sports, and that's what I admired about this team last year because they did shut me up. Do it again. With that, I think that we're going to close up shop. Okay, we will be back on at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll start the clock at 6:25. But actually, while I have you guys on here, I did want to talk a little bit about this week. Okay, so I posted the schedule on all my social media accounts, and I did it on YouTube. Okay, we really are going to be like doing more and more stuff on here. And so I actually am going to have a couple of guests coming on this week. It's not even just for Philly stuff. Like we're going to be doing a lot of Sixers content because we got our first playoff game on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. I might be a little bit late. I might be a little bit late because I'm also supposed to be filming a game that day for somebody. But I'm really going to try my best to make it back in plenty of time. But I have a pre-recording of like a pregame show that I'll be posting with an interview with somebody who actually like works or worked with me for the Blue Coats and spent a lot of time with the Sixers organization too. So like we have some really cool stuff coming up, and I just wanted to let you guys know because you're really in for a treat. And I want to really give you guys as much content as possible. And we don't just call games on here. Like we do podcasts, like we edit highlight videos. We just do a lot more stuff, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be really freaking awesome. So, all right. So that's going to wrap things up here. I just wanted to be sure that I let you guys know. And be sure to follow the schedule, right? It's on my YouTube page. It's on all my social media accounts. And as always, if there's any sort of updates to the schedule, I will be sure to let you guys know. But a lot of Phillies and Sixers content coming up. We also have a Flyers podcast tomorrow night. We'll be talking about that. I do have a guest that I'm trying to get on to talk about the Flyers with, like a really like well-known person like within the Flyers organization that I might have a very good conversation with. I've been really trying to reach out to him and I haven't heard back just yet, but a lot of stuff is in the works and I just wanted to let you guys know. So, all right, that's going to wrap things up here. I will see you all later tonight for Phillies action, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully they come out with a W and they can try to beat up on Sandy Alcantara, the Cy Young winner for the National League from last year. And yeah, man, they just got to prove me wrong. They got to shut me up, give me the double bird, and let's hope that they do that. All right. I'll see you all tonight. And yeah, man, go Phils.